Good evening, 6 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody has had a chance to take a look at the agenda. I do know we have one change, and that is number 5. We will not be having number 5 this evening.
Make a motion to approve the agenda minus number 5 community center updates.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to number 4, Board of Equalization meeting. So at this point, we'll have to open the meeting at 6:01 p.m. And 4B is motion to accept, deny proposed excess evaluation from Doyle Fickbaum, parcel number 01.04.02.1015, as no significant improvements have been made to the property in street conditions to decrease the value. So with that being said, I don't know if there's any discussion, or Doyle, I see you're here this evening, if you want to put some 2 cents in on this.
Well, the value has been going up after the last 4 years, and I haven't done really any improvements for half of a steel roof. And also our street has gotten went worse since we resurfaced it from last year. It's just breaking up, and then the valuation just can't keep going up when the streets and stuff are getting as bad as they are. And also we're paying for the front half, or the frontage, or the gutters. We're getting charged for that every year too as well. So I see where land goes up in price. I agree with that, but as far as my residential property, it hasn't really changed any whatsoever. That lasts for 10 years actually. So I kind of am a little against going up with the appraisal of the property, of the rental itself. So, like I say, the lamp, I understand that because that's going up in price as it is. But the rental, the property itself, as far as the house, is still the same as it has been many years, except for that part of the roof. So I realize we have to go up to keep everything going in the government and the city. But for 4 years now, it's almost been over $26,000 since it's went up over the last 4 years.
That's assessed value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of like to see it just table off for at least a couple of years or so. So and see how, I know inflation's got a lot to do with it too, but also you got to remember this is it's a low income town, so you can't really put the rent prices up to where they should be to cover the extra expenses, because we're a lower income town here, and the young people just don't have the money to come up with larger rent money. So that's why I'd like to see the appraisal stay for the property where it was at last year, and then the land, granted, will go up where it is assessed at now. So.
So the one thing that the county did for the 23 values is, as you mentioned, all land went up 40% in Alcester, and the structures went up 10%. And the county is recommending that because overall the county has to get to an 85% equalized value. So 10% of that increase is due to the county getting it up to the requirement of the 85%. The other part of that increase is related to what has happened in the housing market. It's also what that house would be valued if you would sell it. You wouldn't sell it for the appraised or the equalized value that's on your recommendation.
That's correct, but we're not going at a selling price. We're going at what appraisal price is now. If it was a selling price, I could see that, but I'm not selling it. And so you got it, there's a gap between selling and assessing price.
Correct.
So you can't go by, and then who knows what we are comparing it to, if that house has had remodeling done in it or whatever else. Yes, I can see where that would go up there and that if you were comparing square footage.
Correct.
So,
I did call the county and ask for some comparables. And they have the ability to go back and look at housing for 3 years to help with comparables in a situation such as this. And so to give you some ideas, there's a house on 102 East 4th, which is that bright green house that is also rental property. That structure value is now at 68,000, and the land value is 7549. Ed Gross's old house on 101 Ofsted, that equalized value is around 40,000 for the structure and 10,000 for the land. 504 Union Street, that house is also comparable to yours in size, and that house is valued at 90,000 and the land at 7340. And the house at 403 Broad Street, that house, the land is valued at 5882. It's quite a bit smaller lot than yours, but the structure is valued at 88,000, almost 88,900. Where Benji Solom used to live at 102 Church Street, that lot is valued at 15,000, and the structure is valued at 111,352. A lot of that is because that one sold in 2022 when houses were selling very quickly and we had no inventory in town. And another comparable is 204 Circle Drive. And that house sold in 21, and the lot was 10,423, and the structure value is 51,850. Now that one is probably a little bit smaller than yours because it's only 700 square feet inside. So those are the comparables that Union County gave me.
I guess if we do have a new school in town, we do have infrastructure to be replacing. I know you're concerned about the street is going backwards, but we are trying. We have purchased a street paver to try to start fixing the streets right.
I understand that, yes.
And so, if the taxes stay, if we don't ever raise the assessed value, that we got to do something. I know nobody likes to pay more money,
No, they don't.
but, it's, for what your house is, I know exactly the home. I don't think it's out of line where they got to got it assessed, in my opinion.
So anyway, we do less than what you got assessed for the structure itself?
What's that?
Can we do anything less for the structure itself? I mean, we don't have to, I guess you think it's more than the 58, but less than the 64. Is there any way we can meet a medium price in there? Like I said, it's been 4 years now in a row it's went up. I know we're trying to catch up, but this is, someplace we gotta make a plateau and then we can go up again, but this 4 years in a row, it's getting to be, you know, it starts hurting on the budget, on everybody's budget, even my renters, so.
Sure.
I know my taxes doubled within the last couple of years, so
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunately what's happening with the housing market being the way it is.
I mean, what do you have the house insured at?
Pardon me?
What do you have your house, that home insured at?
And down there,
Yeah.
insured, right now I'm not carrying any insurance on it, because I have just a liability and that's all I have, so.
Well, any other discussion or thoughts, concerns?
I feel you're paying, because ours has went up a lot every year.
Yeah, they have. Even mine out there,
It's- But I don't know what we can do about it. That's just the way it is. And I think it's gonna keep going up, I'm afraid.
I understand it's a small town and it's supposed to be small town affordable housing, living, but things have changed quite a bit. And David Larson, he knows as well as I do, affordable housing is in the past. You can't, I mean, a governor's home is very expensive, just to get a new governor's house in town. So I mean, we're just in new times, I'm afraid, and, you know, who would ever thought, you know, the home I live in, you know, just a few dollars short of $4,000 a year, you know, it was built in the early 80s. So, I don't know what to do. I mean, if we start changing for you, then we're gonna have 30 other people in here wanting to do the same thing, you know what I'm saying?
I guess that was probably their law, so I'll have to wait till next year to do it, but I just thought that I had to approach you somehow to
Sure.
talk about this, and if those other people are satisfied with what they want, then they don't want to approach the council, that's their business, but mine was to approach the council and see what I could do.
Sure, sure.
If I may have permission to speak?
Yeah.
The council could drop it, but then if I'm remembering correctly, then it goes to the county and then it becomes the county's issue and stuff. Or we can back off the curb tax and drop that back for a couple years so that the homeowners can get back on their feet. Those are two possible remedies.
Well, one thing is we take that special assessment tax, which is the curb tax, you know, that we're using that for buying all the asphalt, the hot mix for the streets. That's going into account for slurry mix if we go that route, or chip sealing. So I mean, people don't think we spend that money elsewhere, but we do put it back into the streets, you know. So if we take that away, we have to remember that that account will get smaller as we use more of the money for the product of the, you know, the summer. As time goes on anyway.
it's, you'd be appalled at how much it costs to do just a little bit of street. I mean, that was very eye-opening to me. And I get comments all the time about our streets, but we can only afford to do so much. And needless to say, that's not getting any cheaper. So we're trying, but it's about impossible.
I think a lot of this, everything's going up. Lumber, cement.
We'll have to make a decision if we're gonna accept or deny, or what you feel anyway. I mean, I totally get it. You feel the street is this, you know,
Yeah, I'm sure you do impress her.
it decreased the value of the home, but in reality, the home has went up quite a bit in value. You
That's
know,
correct.
due to
That's
housing
due to-
market.
So that's due to inflation and so forth. So once that starts coming down, then you're gonna have a lot more people in there than me. I guarantee you that, because unless you change the assessment back down, which doesn't happen in government. We both know that.
Correct.
So that's why you try to get it at now, is try to kind of at least slow it up a little bit instead of just keep going up and then you'll never see it come back down again. You never will. That's government.
I don't know, what if we met a little bit in the middle at like 62, 510? And it would come out to an even 70,000. I like even numbers.
Any other input?
What were you saying? To do what?
Assess the structure at 62,510.
Mhm.
Drop it a little bit. But I don't know, I'm kind of with him, like he said, he's the only one that filled one of these out, and we all may be upset with our taxes and stuff, but he's the only one that went through the motions of actually doing something about it, so I think that's worth something.
What was it last year?
58,704. And the year prior to that was 51,047. And the big jump happened in 2020. Because at that time it was 41,740. And that's when Alcester went through the old town reevaluation.
Oh,
So that's why that one was so significant.
Austin, do you have any input?
The only thing I would say is, as was mentioned, if he feels aggrieved by any decision this board makes, he can appeal it to the county commissioners, and then if he doesn't agree with the county commissioners, he can take it to circuit court as well. So there's another avenue if need be.
Okay.
would, I agree with Kyle. Being clear on it, is there a time frame for that? Is there still more time for anybody else to?
No, the deadline was Thursday at 5 o'clock.
So is that the number you'd like to go with, or the $62,510?
For the structure.
And then leave the land at $7,490?
Yeah.
What did you say, 62,000?
510.
So we would need a motion, if we're gonna move on with this, to make changes and accept the change at $62,510 versus the $64,574 that is currently assessed.
I will make a motion to modify the proposed assessed valuation from Doyle Fickbaum. Structured 62,510, land saying it's 7,490. Parcel number 01.04.02.1015, as no significant improvements have been made to the property and street conditions decreased back.
I'll second it.
So I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to, we're gonna review the initials and see.
So that was that digital file I sent to you, the PDF.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to do searches, look around your neighborhoods. Did you see anything that stood out to you?
I did not see anything on the
I didn't,
website.
I didn't.
Okay. So then,
So with that being said, if there's no other discussion on 4C, we'll move on to 4D, and that is closing the meeting at 6:23 PM. Thanks, Doyle, for coming. And we'll move on to number 6, public input.
I have public input. Let's see. I do need to check with someone when an officer was on duty. It's to go with a complaint that I made, but I will check with you guys after the meeting. I'm still going after the FCS zoning. I pulled the lawsuit. And again, Mr. Feltz, are you aware of the lawsuit, the civil action? And because that was filed in 2022, I think, if I remember accurately, and why hasn't that been publicized for the residents to understand about that?
I'm gonna defer to Sam on that. I am wholly unfamiliar because I just came in the fall.
Okay, I was hoping he'd be here. Again, I have a copy of it. I don't know if it's decision's been made on it. I did go down and talk to the county commissioners and explained my position and stuff. And I have a call into the folks that deal with the water rights and stuff, because it appears they built a nice little platform for their civil action, and it was how do I want to put it, a lot of stuffing in the turkey, so to speak. The thing is that if they put a road in that, and I have no actual knowledge that that's what they're going to do, but they've already put a road across that waterway. That is a waterway. And if they block it up, I know of at least 3 lawsuits they're going to have from people that were flooded. Depends on how far back it goes. And the thing is that, again, it has not been, that parcel was not part of the original parcel that was annexed in. So that would have to be annexed by itself. And to my knowledge, that has not happened. And for the city to be platting and messing with that, it should have already become a part of the city, should have been annexed in. And again, as a landowner, and I've already had one flood, and it was a gosh awful mess. And that was just from a tree going down, not because somebody dammed the thing up. And it's my understanding, like I said, that from what they were indicating, I don't see what the purpose is. I don't see them. The only thing is that so the trucks can go around, and that's going to dam that creek up. And there is a creek there, and I'm just waiting to hear back from the folks I called or contacted in Pierre today. But I see it's on the agenda for you folks to deal with. And Mr. Phelps, has Sam given you any information on that?
So I think I was mistaken. I wasn't aware with the actual area that you were talking about. If it's the one that's going to be just the approval, I do have information on that, but I think I'll save that.
But like I said, when they went in for the lawsuit to allegedly quiet the title, and that property was not under any titles that I'm aware of, that I just in the light reading I did. They referred to it as a ditch, and it's not a ditch, it's a waterway. And it flows into another waterway. And like I said, right now, there's not much water in it, but it's coming. And I've been there since 86, 87, and I've seen that waterway where it was at the top of the banks and cooking, canoeing term, kayaking term. We have, and if you bring that in, that may or may not affect those two large culverts. And we've already discussed the one culvert is failing, and the replacement cost of those culverts is astronomical, and I'm not sure. I know that the township doesn't have the funds to pay for that, and if we bring it into the city, or if you guys bring it into the city, then that becomes your responsibility to maintain that and mess with that. So, again, I'm pushing, and like I said, I've already talked to the county commissioners on this issue. And again, I'm very curious on why FCS was bringing the folks south of FCS, why they were citing them as parties to that, or co-defendants with the city. Why that was brought in and why that was done the way it was. This group, when I went out to Iowa Courts Online, they're extremely litigious people. And I would just as soon not have to go through another flood. And again, I will check with you officers. I was sitting and I saw two cars go back by the old bathrooms between the football field and the baseball field. And I was watching them, and there was a lot of horsing around back in that area. And it was on a Friday night, about 8:30. And I watched them, and I saw them come out of that driveway, and they were both westbound on 6th Street, going side by side up over the top of the hill. I called 911 and made a complaint, and I will be getting a copy of that complaint. But I need to talk to the officer, because one of the cars, where I couldn't see it was after dark, one had a unique feature on it that he must be a bright Bart, because you know, there's only one car in town that probably has that feature. And so I do have that. I am aware of that. But that's dangerous, because anybody coming up over the top of the hill, here were these two cars, side by side, westbound, and they were going much faster than 35 mile an hour. So I did want to make you guys aware of that. We need to get police presence back into Alcester and get a police presence, not just part-timers, but a police presence, because people are going to get hurt. There's still stuff going on in the park, and I realize that's going to happen, but if they think that there's no law enforcement, then it's open season. So, okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other public input?
I heard back, maybe Austin can relate this message from me, but after the last meeting, a lady that was present here, oh, I'm sorry, David.
Go ahead.
Approached me, how do we know that when public input is given that there's follow-up? And afterwards I thought about that a minute and I thought, she's right. I tried to tell her we tried to follow up. So one of the things I did do after the incident with the Burks and their concern over their taxes, I did call, is it Mike Bowen? Is it Bowen? A representative
Jim.
from out of Kent. Jim Bowen. I visited him about it and he did say, I see you, there would be concern, but he said, give me 2 weeks until things calm down in Pier and he'd get back to me. But he needed all the paperwork about this situation with their taxes. So I contacted Austin and Austin sent it to him. And Friday he responded to us. And do you want to elaborate
Yeah,
on
I
that?
can talk about it a little bit. So he called me, I think it was Thursday actually, and he just had some general questions like, hey, what happened? So I essentially laid it all out to him that statute's pretty vague as to who provides what to where. And he listened to it and he asked, how many aggrieved properties are there? And then he essentially listened to all of it and goes, this is the first time I've heard of this issue, I haven't heard it from anywhere else. And I laid out what the municipal handbook said, and he took the position of that he's not going to do anything about it at the state level. So that was essentially what his position was, is I understand, he got the concern, understood the concern, but he's like, this isn't something that I'm going to tackle at the next level, so.
So they at least know we tried. Thanks. The next one is, I have been talked to by a few people that would like their kids to work at the swimming pool in Alcester, but due to behaviors, they're very hesitant that they want to work here. So I called Beersford and I've called Haywarden, and I've talked to them about what procedures do you do at your swimming pool when kids are acting out, they get expelled from the pool, and then they get ridiculed by the parents. Beersford at this time, she said to call back in a couple weeks, because right now they don't have a manager or a superintendent of pools. I talked to Haywarden and she just laughed. She said, we have the same problems. And she said, I will give you our policies and our rules, and I'm gonna pick them up tomorrow. But I think we do need to get something established before school starts. I was talking to Lou, or before school's out, and maybe when they sign up for their season pass, they get a set of the rules and then tell the parents this is how it is. Come up with a policy so that the lifeguards feel they're backed. Right now, they do not feel they're backed. And parents are the #1 problem over their kids because they're not being backed. I was contacted on Friday by a concerned citizen that they have concerns about the bar downtown and the garbage in front of it. So I really think that's gonna be their issue, not ours, but that is a concern of another business in town. Talking about the plat later on, I also have talked to the commissioners in El Point, but they wanted me to be aware of the road that comes down to the north end of the fairgrounds is going to be put up for surplus. It was a tight vote. It was voted by the president, okayed it. So the elevator does want to put in a scale on that road. And so they have to surplus it out if they get the bid. And they promise, now personally I think I get it in writing, that the Lions Club stand is on the one end of it. And they promise they'd leave that intact, that they'll close the elevator down for the 4 days yet. We could park anywhere down there. So that's what the elevator says right now, if they would get it. That's what the commissioner told me today. But he said where the discrimination is they only have, he called it a 45, I'm assuming feet wide, and then so long along that road. The other part, which is the northern part, kind of where those trees are and the railroad tracks, that is already owned by the elevator. And he does not know when that happened. So that's just a heads up, that's all I know. I don't know who will, it's gonna be up for surplus, so we'll have to see what happens. So that's all I have, but that was told to me today.
Thank you, Darla. Dave?
Yes, I'm glad to see that you're gonna, hopefully, maybe gonna advertise the position for someone out at the golf course. It's my feeling that somebody needs to be in charge out there. There's a lot of things that need to be decided on a weekly or sometimes daily basis. And it's good to have somebody that's got the responsibility of making those decisions. You've got a couple employees out there, Dale Jorgensen, Kurt Gilbertson. I'm assuming Kurt's coming back. I don't know if he's back in California yet or not, but I talked with Dale and he's planning to be back. Those gentlemen certainly know what they're doing and will be able to do a good job, but another person out there will certainly make things work a lot smoother. Some other things about the golf course, maybe you've touched on these. A question, has the golf course and community center responsibilities been designated? And what I'm talking about, what are the responsibilities for the golf course staff? You know, is it just the chemicals, the fertilizer, the trees, the grass, the irrigation on just the golf course? Or will those people be responsible for taking care of the grounds around the community center too, doing the mowing and watering the trees and that kind of stuff? And as far as the responsibilities of the grill and event center, are they going to be doing all the fee collections, renting golf carts, picking up trash around the golf course like they have in the past, and all of that kind of stuff? So just, you know, hopefully if these things have already been talked about, great. If not, it might be time to think about that before the season opens. Advertising budget for the community center, I don't see much in the Advertiser Star of the Union lately. Just want to make sure that everybody knows the place is still open and what the hours are. And another thing on that, member fees and cart storage fees, maybe it'd be time to publish those in the paper so that we can start collecting some fees. There's a discount if the membership fees are paid by May 15th, so people should know that. And selling the old clubhouse area, I don't know if anybody's still considering that metal building there. If that goes with it, and you decide to break off that part of the property, we'll need to find some place to store the outdoor tables and chairs. And it's probably going to take a couple storage units for 5 or 6 months of the year to do that. So because we have that whole half, the major portion of that building is filled with those right now.
The old clubhouses?
No, not the
That
clubhouse,
right behind.
that storage building.
Okay.
it's just cold storage in there. And then, this is probably something for the lawyer to deal with, but has there ever been any thought to splitting the two departments, golf course and community center? I don't know if it'd be possible, if golf course could become a non-enterprise fund with a set budget, kind of like the pool park area or the library. And with, you know, some of the fees going toward maintenance, but, you know, still having to deal with the budget, just something, question I had, so, thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
The only public input I have myself is, I did have a couple people here in town that would like to see this council meeting streamed live on the local channel, on the cable channel. So every time we have a council meeting or something, they'd like to watch it live. So if there's any way we could do that, that'd be great. And that's all I have. So, any other public input?
At the very least, we could probably figure out how to do a Facebook live stream.
That's what some other city councils have done. I know Canton does that, they just stream it on their page.
Trying to figure out how to do it on TV might get a little complicated.
Yeah, I don't know, just something that was a concern of a lady here in town, so. Any other public input? Alrighty, we'll move on to number 7, golf course. 7A is vacancy discussion that we all know what that is, so. I guess we need to make a decision if we're going to advertise for that position that Landon was filling, or what we're gonna do.
Well, looking at the budget of the community center, I don't think we can hire a full-time person. It'd have to be a temporary summer seasonal position that would be in charge of the greens, at least for this year, the greens. Because the way I understood it, the inside people will still do all the,
Garbage on the course?
no, not the garbage, like
Oh, the
all the
fees,
fees and all
memberships,
that.
they'll
They'd still
collect.
do that on the inside.
Yes, that is true.
But the other person would have to be in charge of maybe making sure the outside, both of them are, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so. I know Lonnie has his plate full, but he could help out on the chemical side of it. Just to get us by this year, to get us in a better position on the budget. Just something he did offer to me. If you want to put any input in on that, Lonnie, that's fine, but I'm throwing that out there. He said it to me, so I'm passing it on.
And one of the other ideas was, and this came through some people, and we haven't had the golf course meetings yet, that maybe asking for a couple cleanup days, and maybe the people who golf would be willing to help with some of that. But there again, we haven't had a meeting. I think it's coming up. Probably in April, maybe, Dave? I know we usually do it.
Gotta get the snow out of here first.
I know, right now.
Can't pick up tree branches when they're under the snow.
Right. So I don't know, do we advertise for a,
What is the age for running the lawnmower?
It's gonna have to be 18.
18?
Excuse me, what'd you say?
18?
16.
For
our
running the
size-
mower.
For our
18.
size.
Depends on the horsepower.
Right, for our size tractor, wouldn't you want someone that could operate any of them?
That'd be best.
And I'm thinking if you go with Dave's suggestion of having somebody who organizes those
Job.
types of things, yes, you would want.
someone? Will there still be a golf course, there's still gonna have to be a golf course attendant at some times too, also inside? correct? Because we don't have staff there on Saturday and Sunday.
We will have when the season opens.
But won't have to be a different,
It could be our staff that we have now.
oh, okay.
I guess my thought is, since Landon was in this position and he resigned from it, I think that was a big part of why he got to be the second co-manager, but I feel that we don't need two co-managers if we gotta fill this position. That's my opinion, because it's not in the budget. I mean, if this person is going to be year-round, hired as full-time,
No.
I just don't see how we can make the ends meet.
So so when Landon resigned, what was he in charge of as far as that, the golf course? Was it ordering chemicals and
He watered the greens early every morning, correct?
Yep, mowed the greens early in the morning. Basically organized the staff to see who's gonna be doing what and when are they going to be doing it.
Did a lot of mowing.
Relayed any,
we have mowers, part-time mowers?
yes,
But they still mow even when he was there.
Right.
They still have their
Yeah.
own. He was basically the greens.
And Kurt, he does not want to work more than 3 days a week. He said that today.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for is a full-time person. I just don't see if we're looking for someone with that kind of responsibility that we're gonna find that as like a seasonal thing. Because a seasonal job would be like a kid going out mowing lawns or something like that, whereas this seems like a little more.
Ideally, if we could get someone that's going into that would possibly need a internship. But I don't know if that's out there.
I guess we just have to make a decision if we want to advertise or not, and then see what comes in
What,
at that point.
what was Landon's rate of pay before the community center ever came up? Right, roughly an hour.
You didn't get paid by the hour.
Well, I think he kind of broke it. He did.
Yeah.
He's the one he elected to go salary.
right? About 15.45.
So could we do a part-time position for $15 an hour for the summer?
So he or she would have to be chemical certified to fill that position, you know, to
Or could Lonnie do that part?
Lonnie.
Well, my thought, I guess, is I will just oversee it. I'll do the application of chemicals if I need to. If Dave's willing to help here and there, he still has his certification. Other than that, you know, I could run the greens water program. I don't think it would take a ton of my time to be out there, would it? For those,
Well,
I mean, it depends. But I'd have to-
last year, I think there were times when Landon was out there 9 o'clock at night,
Right,
running the greens again because everything was so dry.
right.
So, you know,
Well,
but
I'll
under a
volunteer
normal
my time
year,
to go out and
no,
do that.
you should be able to set the timers so that it automatically waters as needed.
Right.
More to you, would it be more helpful to have somebody helping you on your side of it so that you can
I don't think I'll
do
need it.
the specialty
My
things?
plan, you know, once we get this summer rolling,
Mhm.
you know, I'll have the pool, we'll have probably most of April to get everything up and going at the golf course as far as equipment ready. April's usually a slower time for me anyways, because the roads are way too junk to do anything with. I can't even sweep, so after the pool's up and going, I'll be starting to look at asphalt, which will be 2 to 3 days a week, depending on weather, obviously. We can get 2 loads in a day, so 32 loads, so I need, you know, if I do 3 loads a week, that's 6 loads, so within 3 to 4 weeks, we'd be done with asphalt at 3 days a week, so.
So adding somebody to the street department as opposed to the golf course wouldn't really,
No, I think you need to have that
Change
guy out
things.
there because Dale can't take care of it all.
Right.
I mean, Dale's the only guy that's there all the time.
Right.
So you need somebody out there, somebody that's trainable that can learn the greens mowers, the tee box mowers especially. So, and the real cutting mowers, if that makes sense.
yeah, just curious.
Dale kinda has that other, he's got his thing out there, so
It's in his groove.
just let him go. And then Kurt runs a lot of the real mowers most of the time, so. But,
I don't think we're out anything. We do have advertised and just see what we do get. It's a possibility. Go that route.
So you want a seasonal and part-time to work approximately how many hours? And I know it would be from April through October.
Well, that's the thing. If that part-timer worked out there
30 or
a fair share, Lonnie got going on the asphalt,
40, 30.
we could have used another guy on the roller.
Did you just say 30 to 40 hours?
So I would say 30 to 40 hours a week.
What you guys say?
30.
30?
Seasonal, part-time.
If the 2 guys we got coming back, you know, if there's something, maintenance or irrigation stuff, I can help out a little bit too. So I think 30 hours a week could be,
Okay. I will do that.
Maybe we could advertise at Southeast. Where's the program at, Southeast?
Oh, in the college?
Maybe you could get in. I mean, that's where I know Landon went.
So I guess we do need a motion to approve advertising the position. You know, with seasonal part-time, 30 hours per week. I suppose I'd eliminate a few.
At some point, I will need a wage, because that will be a question that comes up,
I would say let's put it in there.
but you could also do DOE. Depends on experience.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do that. I'll make a motion to advertise for a seasonal golf course groundskeeper position. Would that be what it's called?
That works.
Rate of pay depends on the DOE.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to 7C, which is motion to approve spending up to $12,000, possibly up to $15,000 from the second penny fund for a reel mower from Purple Wave auction. And I believe it is in your packet on what it is.
Might be near the back.
Should be the second to last thing.
So it is a Toro Greenmaster 3120 reel mower. It only has 511 hours on the meter. Cutting width is 65 inches. Briggs & Stratton Vanguard engine, 2-cylinder, just a gas machine. I looked at it online with Lonnie and it does look really good.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of options out there for mowers with lower hours like this. So I mean, it's either we're gonna spend the money up front, or get a better machine right out of the gate, or we'll just spend it down the road on a higher hour machine.
May I ask a question? On the hours, is that based on motor hours or operational
Not the
hours?
same hours on those.
Okay.
There's no difference in separator hours versus the engine.
Okay.
Lonnie?
I'm
you
gonna
got
add
any
something
input?
before, I mean, I just want you to realize that's on Purple Wave, and that's an auction site. As of this afternoon, the thing was up to 9,400. I don't think it's gonna stay in our budget, to that 12,000. And I'd ask, is our budget 12 or 15 on that? Because there was originally 15. And it's kind of like, well, originally it was 15 for a fairway mower, which Landon had switched to a second tee box slash greens mower. So I guess, I don't know if you can change that, if you're willing to change that, if you're willing to do this, just keep that in mind. I don't think it's gonna go for where we can get it. Being that it's at 9,400 and it goes out around noon tomorrow, you know, it's gonna just, and we have to stop bidding at 10/9 if, to stay under 12, because there's 10% fee in Purple Wave. So,
What's a new machine like this cost?
I found one finally this afternoon. In 2019, they were 27,000. So that's not what this 2006, this is a 2016.
Yep.
But, yeah, 2019, who knows what they are now. Probably 30s, I would say at least, or mid-30s. Just thought I'd add that.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Could second penny afford to go up then?
Yeah, the original budget was created because back in August, when talking with Landon, we thought we were getting the fairway mower. And at that time, a fairway mower was about that 15,000 mark. And then we had budgeted for 24 to get the real, this type of mower. And so when the season got done, Landon came in to see me and said, you know, I think we could actually use this, a real mower better than we could use a fairway. Could we switch them? And I said, well, that's great, because we budgeted 12,000 instead of the 15. But I'm sure along with everything else and inflation, that a mower that he had originally bid out or looked at has increased in value.
So did he say that think that we needed a new mower before or after we got the other one? Looks like there's an invoice here for an overhaul on that one.
That invoice that you're looking at is something we do every year. At the end of each mowing season, the reels are taken off and brought over to this business, and they are rebuilt to get us ready for the next season.
Okay.
And so that bill, it's a little higher this year than normal, but it's usually in the high 4s. And the work that they do is very, very similar. It's always usually the new bed knives, like they mentioned, and it's always the gaskets and seals, and usually bearing overhaul kits. So yes, Darla, to answer your original question, the budget was prepared with 15,000 for a different mower, but we're switched.
And at this point, all the water heads,
Sprinklers are already ordered.
that's been paid for, right?
Yes.
So that's,
Those were ordered at the end of the year and then got in January.
because that seemed like that was the other issue, right?
Yep. We budget so much every year for sprinkler heads.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make a motion to approve spending up to 15,000, correct? Out of the second penny fund for the real mower from Purple Wave auction for the golf course.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to number 8, Street Department. 8A is motion to approve paying $14,200 to Black Star ACA LLC for a 2005 Caterpillar CV-224E smooth drum compactor. It is in your packet. And what this is, Lonnie can, he'll tell you about it.
Well, I'll just break that price down a little better for you. I should have probably done that a little different, but it was a rush to get in there. So $12,500 is what the actual compactor costs. There is a 5% fee, administration fee. It is being purchased through a third party, so to speak. He finds these machines and then sells them for people. People contact him and whatnot, so. And then on top of that, or approximately $1,000 for delivery on the machine. Those are rough bids that I got in, so I went to $14,200. That leaves a little over $1,000 for shipping. I got a quote directly from him today that was $1,700, and I said we'd find our own way. So if I gotta drive and get it, I'll go get it, I guess, but preferably not. It's a 7-hour drive where it's sitting, so. But
Did we talk
anyways.
about, didn't we talk about this last time, Dave?
We did.
Yeah.
We did not get the Packer that was on the last council meeting that was sold.
Okay.
When I called, finally got a hold of them. This machine weighs 3 tons, so it's a little larger machine. It's 47 inches wide. It's got a diesel motor and about 1,500 hours on it, so it's a pretty fresh motor for a diesel. Compared to the other one that was a 36-inch wide machine, 2-ish tons, 2.5 tons, and had a gas braking or a gas Honda engine. So I guess what I'm asking is if we can move a little more of that chip seal fund that we use to purchase the paver, which the paver is here. We're getting to know that thing a little bit, so basically we're gonna need to move, I think we got 11,700 left after the paver for what you guys originally had approved. So we're looking at another 2,500 to move over. Reason that I'm asking and not just keep looking is I have been looking all over the internet, making calls. I'm not finding machines, and the ones we do find, we're losing out because of our budget. So they're going out right at where we could spend without any fees and without any shipping, basically is what's happening. So that 12.5 number for just the machine is probably right. They're just not here in South Dakota or Nebraska or Iowa, so, or Minnesota.
So could we transfer money from asphalt? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Chip
it's
seal?
Take it
within
out
the
of the-
street budget.
Street budget, yep.
And 14.2 will get this guy if it's not gone by tonight.
He is holding that for us. So he will hold it till Wednesday morning. And he didn't make me put anything down, he just said he'd do a handshake deal and hold it for us, so.
I'll motion to approve paying $14,200 to Black Star ACA LLC for 2005 Caterpillar CV-224E smooth drum compactor.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to number 9, legal updates. Austin?
All right, so the first thing is section 2.5 of the police policy manual, which designates on-call procedures for the city. In my estimation, the entirety of 2.5, the on-call policy, it sounds like the council's looking to get rid of that. And it's not too hard of a process to reinsert that if needed in the future. But as of the current police situation, I would just recommend striking the entirety of the on-call policy or sending in. That specifically lays out the scheduling for on-call policy, the standard of conduct for on-call policy, restrictions, response time, dress code, and on-call pay. If that's the wish of the council to remove that, I would just recommend removing the entirety of the section. And you could always reinsert it if down the future the police situation is in a less tenuous position, and it could be reinserted if needed.
Would you leave just that one single line on there that said, if on-call is needed, chief of police will schedule, or anything like that? Or
Could you-
just strike the whole thing?
I would say just strike the whole thing, because the indication is that there's no way to have on-call as of now. If there's a situation that arises, the policy can be put back into place. In addition, if there's anything that's extremely severe, the county sheriffs could always get involved if something arises to that nature. Alternatively, you could just leave it up to the chief of police, which there's not, so you could also just amend it and state simply that the chief of police schedules it, but there's no on-call required by any officer. So I would leave that up to you.
I'd say we take it out. I'd say.
That's what I say.
Was that just that first motion on A?
Well, I didn't know if you were gonna have something for them to look at.
I mean, the only thing I have is the on-call policy.
Right.
I don't have any handouts or anything like that. I know what was in the manual before.
So how do you formally strike that out? I mean, do we need a resolution to strike that out?
We'll probably need, 'cause it's an administrative function. To be safe, we'll have to draft a resolution, and I don't have a resolution here right now, so
Okay.
for next meeting, I'll draft a resolution to that effect, to strike that entire section,
Okay.
if amendable. And then as to the next part, employee personnel policy manual update, section 5.3 on-call time. Section 5.6 is the actual on-call policy for police. I would recommend the same thing, striking the entire on-call policy. On-call time specifically is what it's referenced as. The only thing that that section deals with is the police department's on-call time. There's no other departments of the city that's contemplated by that section. So it would just simply strike that as well. And it covers a lot of the same bases that the police department manual covers. It has, chief of police schedules it, the code of conduct for on-call police, the ability to apply to to comply with the dress code in addition to the pay for on-call time. I would just recommend striking that entire section as well.
What are we doing, optional? Just put in there optional, that way if we get some young, he or she that wants to pick up extra hours, they don't have anything going on.
Then that's
Want
just,
that.
then that's just a simple amendment to say that the chief of police will schedule. On-call time's not mandatory, however, it is a possibility with the approval of the chief of police and the officer. I think something like that needs to be approved. Based on the situation, it can't be something the chief of police itself is designating that. I think there needs to be consent with the officer as well, given the situation.
And if we have a young officer that needs more hours, he can mow lawns. He can mow fairways.
So, with what Austin said, do you want to have that, strike it out, or modify it some other way?
I'm fine with striking it out and make a resolution for that. And if we see that we do need it for some reason down the road, then we can put it in there, but
Yeah, I'm good with that.
just want, just to be aware that if there is a resolution, it would take 21 days to go into effect for something like that, so I just don't know.
I don't know that our manual requires that
Oh,
it's
okay.
done by resolution, because in our personnel policy manual, it just says, if the city makes any changes to the manual, they are made by a majority vote of the city council in an open meeting.
Then I would just defer to that.
So that means you could also add, correct? Yeah. So if we get a chief of police and he feels there should be something, we could add something to our manual, correct?
But we have always done it in writing, just not a resolution.
Okay.
So we don't need a motion for either one of those. We'll move on to 9C, motion to approve police limited liability agreement.
I have a draft of that. I don't have paper copies for people, but I can read essentially what it states. So there were two things I added. I found some other police department that also required when there is storage, parking or storage of a vehicle, that the city also has, make sure to have a spare key of the vehicle, which I am assuming the city does have, just in case there's a scenario where the officer's out of town and there's a vehicle on the street. They just added that within the liability of the protection. Essentially, it would relieve the officer from any and all liability accrued from injury, damage, any claims, demands, actions, costs, expenses that the city may have or incur, or the officer may incur arising on any manner related to the officer for the parking or storage of a city police vehicle, except for instances of gross negligence. And that's any release of liability. You can't completely absolve somebody from that. So if there's gross negligence, you know, they leave the keys in the vehicle and somebody steals a gun, they're still probably gonna be they're still gonna be liable for that regardless of this. And then it's just basic verbiage to say that they agree with it, and that if anything's unenforceable, it won't be construed into effect. And then I have that as being signed by a representative of the city in addition to the member or to the officer, just because given the situation, I think it's something that needs to be approved by both parties, just because of the amount of liability that could be incurred. Cool.
Would this even be then, once we hire somebody, they would still sign the same thing, correct?
Correct. It's just extra security, just to make sure that they're aware of it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve police limited liability agreement.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to 9D. Any other legal updates?
I have nothing else besides the plat, which we will get to. So.
Thank you. Number 10, wastewater facility plant upgrade.
So part of your packet that was emailed out to you included a letter, actually two letters. One was a letter from Tanya or Banner Engineering to Lucas, and the other one was quite a lengthy packet of information which would go to Daryl at IPT. So we did have the bid opening on March 9th at 11 o'clock, and we had two bidders present, two bidders provided bids. Right now, Tanya is reviewing them to make sure everything is where it needs to be. And she will attend the April 3rd meeting for formal approval of those bids and to continue to move forward with the project. So I just wanted you to be aware so you can keep current on where we are with the process, to let you know that we did receive our bids. But we will need to make a decision on April 3rd to move forward with the project.
Who had it before?
IDT, same person.
Same person.
Mhm. The reason we are not doing a approval for bid tonight is because we're still waiting. The meeting with the State Water Board is the 30th and 31st of this month. And so we will be on that agenda to confirm that we can use phase 2 funds for phase 1. And I don't know, I haven't seen the agenda yet to know where we are. I would assume we will be on the 30th though. Because they do go in alphabetical order by community. And I will let you know so you can sit down on that meeting as well. So that's all on that.
That being said, we'll move on to number 11. This is gonna be the plat approval that we have been discussing last couple meetings. So, plat approval, plat of lots 1 and 2, South Addition, in addition in the southeast quarter of section 28, T95N 5th PM, City of Alcester, Union County, South Dakota. 11A is motion to convey jointly as the Planning Commission and City Council.
I'll make the motion to convene jointly as the Planning Commission and City Council.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to 11B, plat map discussion.
That's where Austin can probably provide more information.
Yep, so obviously the discussion over the last couple meetings has been the replatting of this area that's owned by the elevator right now. Two things specifically I had a chance to discuss with Sam about this. The entirety of these 2 lots is within city jurisdiction. So the agreement is, as of now, is when this is replatted, the Farmers Co-op will transfer the lot 2, the southern lot, the one that's on the south side of the ditch area, to the owners to the south. This requires city approval because it's within the entirety of city limits. To our knowledge, there's nothing that's outside. In addition, it would be our opinion that even though it could be considered a waterway, it's entirely private property. There's no public utilities, there's no easements or anything that provide access to the public through this. So there's no public use or anything that would instead classify it as a river or stream or something that the city has to provide access to. The only thing that I've seen, and on the plat, it's specifically identified as center line of ditch. So any prospective buyer in the future is aware of that. In addition to, since it's private property, if the owner makes changes of that on their private property that affects something upstream, then they're gonna be the ones liable for it. I don't see how the city incurs liability as a result of that when it's private property, and then both parties are adequately informed about that on the plat map, and both parties are understanding what they're getting with each parcel of property. It's my understanding it's going to the county commission as well. The only thing specifically water related as it relates to the county commission is they're the ones responsible for when this plat map is approved of ensuring that there's designations for water on the plat map if they feel so needed. There's a provision in statutory law that if it's not specifically designated and Then if county commission feels it's necessary to mark it, if there's a risk of sewage or any other ways that were to go into this alleged waterway. Given the fact it's more of a spillover than anything, in addition to the fact that it's privately owned, I don't see an issue, and I've ran this past Sam as well, so that would be his position.
I called the commissioners today too. I talked to two of them. They said they were gonna meet tomorrow, they might discuss this. But I did visit with the landowner, that's on the back side of it. And I wanted to find out about the culvert situation, because I don't know who is responsible. Like, there's the two big culverts. Are those the cities, or are they the township? Are they the township?
County.
County?
The county paid for to put those in.
I think it's Township Road.
It's a township road.
It may be a township road,
Well,
but the
and
county,
it- and that-
Raymond Rago was the one I talked to a while back.
Commissioner told me today that if there is an issue and it needs to be culverts, the commission does work with them. They work together on that project and help to put culverts in. That's just what he told me. But my concern was, I went out and I drove the waterway out that way. Because there's concern from farmers also that it's going to back up over as far as a mile out east. And water even comes from where I used to live and goes down a spillway that kind of comes in the back way. And then we were told that there's a small culvert on the corner of this plat. And that possibly it was the elevator that put it in. Well, it's not big enough to probably handle a lot of water through that. So my question to Austin was, who is responsible for that if all this water comes back out? And he said it would not be us, correct, Austin?
Correct.
That's how I understood you. So when I went to the landowner, he told me that that was put in by Boyers. That was not put in by the elevator now. He said, does it do any good? Probably not. He said, because if you got that kind of water, it'd just go right over that. So that clarified to me, at least it's not recently put in.
No, that was,
So,
it was put in, yeah, Boyers, because
Yeah.
I'm aware of it because they were using it as a crossing and stuff. But South Dakota has a, to most rivers, center of the river, water rights. Water rights, the people of South Dakota own the water rights. I don't care if it's on private property or not. I can go back and get the information. But the thing is that this has always been there. It's been there since '86. It's flooded, I don't know how many times. And if they want to go, let them have at it, because I don't have a problem with it, because my property is directly affected if they back that thing up, if whether they put, how long of a culvert that they put in, or what size, because the smaller one is absolutely ridiculous, because it'll flood. Because it was about maybe 10 inches in diameter. It was.
I was gonna go look, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, it's an exercise in stupidity.
But that is what they explained to me.
Yeah.
And it has been.
Yeah.
So really, our decision is basically to accept the plot, but it will still go to the commission, right? If we understood that paper right?
It will go before them, yes. After it leaves us, it goes down, the representative from FCS will pick this up and take it down to them.
And I guess one other point is, and unless there's disagreement about that, but I don't see any reason in the future that the city itself would get involved with trying to maintain or edit this waterway. Therefore, we're not the ones making the action since it's on their property. If they're the ones who make the action and to affect or adjust it, that's on them. It's nothing to do with the city's liability.
there is language where the road that abuts the property, and now you've extended the property, the road that abuts the property is become the city responsibility. So that's South Iowa, it just became the city of Alcester's responsibility.
The one by you then?
No.
No,
South Iowa.
Iowa Street.
The east side.
Oh.
I'm on South Street.
Oh, okay.
And Iowa Street is really wonky down there. If you look at a ownership map or city limit map, really only Iowa goes down to the first bin, essentially. Or just a little bit north of the,
It's a mess down
the,
there.
the
I mean,
main office.
Jay could not find the maps, and his son was there too, and there has really been a lot of deception down there. I mean, I felt bad almost for even going there, but it's years and years ago. There's a lot of things that are not good down there, but it's in the past, so I don't think, but a lot of it does have to do with water. So do you think we're safe doing this?
I do.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of plat of lots 1 and 2 South Addition and Addition in the southeast quarter of section 28T95 and 5th Prime Meridian, City of Alcester, Union County, South Dakota, and to be signed by Darla, Rep. Chang on the Planning Commission.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'll do a roll call on this one. Kyle?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Darla?
I,
Motion has passed.
Are you gonna vote? I mean,
I'm
you're still.
opposed. I'll vote on this one. We'll move on to 11D, motion by the city council to approve the planning commission recommendation and to approve the plat of lots 1 and 2, South Addition, and an addition in the southeast corner of section 28, 295 North, 5th PM, City of Alcester, Union County, South Dakota, and to be signed by Lucas Dreesen, council president and finance officer, Pat Jones.
You need to retire the planning and zoning to make the motion for the city council to accept.
We adjourn after that.
I didn't hear it.
I said we adjourn after this motion.
Yeah, this is in between. This is 11D.
Okay, it's a motion by the city council. You're still in the planning and zoning council.
If you look at letter A,
letter A.
right now they are convening jointly as planning commission and city council.
Right.
So city council can also make a motion. Then we will adjourn planning and zoning and go back to resuming city council.
I disagree.
So any discussion on
You don't have a
11D?
motion yet.
No, I'm just asking if there's anything we want to talk about.
So you don't agree with this?
No, not really, because I'm right upstream, just on the other side of the highway, and I've been flooded more than once.
So how does not doing anything help you from getting flooded?
Well, I wish they would, my opinion, it's just like when they wanted to buy the fairgrounds, they wouldn't tell us what they wanted to do with it. So, that being said, if they can't tell us what they're gonna do with this, they don't have no solid plans on the table, what's going on. You know, around that curve, we had 2 4-foot culverts handling a large quantity of water, going down to just, I don't know, what is that, 400 feet down, maybe it's more than that, Austin. That culvert might be 18 inches. So, if they would put large culverts in and not restrict any water flow, that'd be one thing, but
I would think there's a better chance of larger culverts being put in if FCS owns the property than if it just sits there bare over time. I mean, they're more likely to make it work and make it function than anybody else, I think.
I kind of fall back on, the FCS wants the city to fix those blowouts on the culvert that the elevator Boyer put in, and that was a ditch. Well, they feel the city should be responsible for those culverts. Well, who's to say those small culverts that they put in, the county, Boyer with the county, didn't restrict the water flow to an extent and make our blowout a lot worse up on the north side of the scale house.
Got the one big one?
Yep.
I have pictures of the flood.
So I'm not saying that the culverts are too small, but obviously there must be an issue if they can't handle the volume of the city, the city water. And they want us to fix those, which I don't feel that we should be held accountable on that behalf, because, that was a very large ditch, and I remember it as a kid. I used to jump across it when I went to the fair. But Boyer, along with the county, joined together, did it where, Boyer did the work if they provided the culverts, and then that way the fair could use that area for parking through the fair time. So the city was kind of left out on that behalf. And I'm not saying that they're gonna do something where they're gonna dam it up. I just don't have no plans in front of me to. And that night we had the meeting with FCS, the guy is not open to sharing what their plans are. So that's just my opinion. That's
No,
all.
they're not. And I was kind of warned that today too.
I don't know by not signing the plat or approving the plat is going to make a difference, because they already own the property. Right now, by platting it, it actually has a definition, it has a parcel, it has a legal description. And from talking with the representative here and talking with Greg Lawrenson, who did the survey work, what FCS is trying to do is to clean up so they don't have all of these small parcels, because I think it's probably about 6 parcels that make up that area. They want to consolidate them and get them all into one. So you're going to be faced with this similar situation again, which is cleaning up all those individual parcels and making it one.
Like you said, they already own the property.
They already own the property. If you
Correct.
look at it.
We're not doing anything about FCS being there or not.
Correct.
They're already here.
Currently, they own both sides. They own the north side and the south side. This is just dividing that to allow them to give the south half to the owners to the south.
So why do we have to do it then if they already own it?
Yeah.
Well,
It's giving it a legal description,
Yeah.
and it's giving it a legal ID.
because right now, plot 1 and 2 are just one big chunk, so they can't just parcel off the south side of it. That's what they're trying to do, is parcel off the south side to sell it or gift it to the owners to the south. I don't know what they're doing with it, but that's their intention with it.
Are they paying property tax on that yet to the city? Because the city gave them 4 or 5 years grace period, which was a mistake in my opinion, but are they finally paying property tax to the city for those?
It was a graduated tax scale, so the first bin that was installed would be at 100% at this point. The second bin is probably 3rd or 4th years in, and it's 5 years graduated.
So if they've always owned it, if I'm understanding this, and they bought it from Boyer, so Boyer owned it already, so why did they take silent action against the city?
So the reason for the silent action against the city is X amount of plots ago, I mean, we're talking 20 to 30 years ago, it was designated as a potential roadway. There is no roadway anymore, so the quiet title was to extinguish the title of the city. My understanding is city has no quarrel about that. So since they quiet title to it, they're entitled to that area. And now their goal is to convey that south half. What they're going to do with the north half of it, the part that they already own, I don't know for sure. And there was potentially some dispute as to what the south owner actually owed as well. So my guess is that was part of the agreement, that if you agree.
Is that the lawsuit that she's talking about?
Correct.
Well, I will motion by city council to approve the planning commission recommendation and to approve the plat of lots 1 and 2 south addition in addition to, in the southeast quarter of section 28T95 in 50M, city of Alcester, Union County, South Dakota, and to be signed by Lucas Dreesen, council president and finance officer here.
I have a motion by Kyle. Do I have a second?
Is there a need to have anything extra added to this, or no?
I don't see anything. The ditch is adequately marked. In addition, if city or if county commission, a lot of that falls on them as well, to make sure that that's adequately marked.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. We'll move on to 11E, motion to adjourn as planning commission and resume acting solely as the city council.
I'll make a motion to adjourn as planning commission and resume acting solely as city council.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to number 12, pool managers / lifeguards. Abigail?
We have had one application for pool manager, that's Peyton Meyer. She was a lifeguard for us last year. I don't know if she
Couple
was.
years, I think she's been.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long she's been a lifeguard. But she was the only one who applied. She was pretty excited about it. Once we do hire a pool manager, I'm gonna set up a meeting with her and you, and we'll talk about rules and what she thinks needs to be done about all that stuff. But first step is hiring a manager. And we have had 3 applications for lifeguards as well. I don't know if anyone who's coming back, they haven't talked to me at all, but we have had 3 new applications.
Nobody from Canton,
That I've
not yet.
You'll get, well, the Canton guards that we did have last year kind of told us they weren't coming back, but Noah and Sarah are.
Oh, they said they got it. I'll make a motion to approve hiring Peyton Meyer as the pool manager at, what's her rate of pay?
The council had originally approved $14 an hour at the January meeting.
At $14 an hour.
So I'll need a motion to approve hiring Peyton Meyer, rate of $14 for position of pool manager, correct?
These are Darla made the motion.
Darla made the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has been passed. 13, one more bar repairs. Discussion here, 13A.
So, as some of you know, and maybe some of you have driven by and wondered why there's a roll-off down there, The roll-off was delivered today. First of all, I'll back up. The part that we talked about at the last council meeting actually came to fruition. We were hoping by getting out the piece of lead that was in the pipe, that was solving the problem. And then before we seeded the toilets, they put in new flanges. And we were hoping that was going to solve the problem of the backup issue, but unfortunately, it did not. And so the solution was to take out the toilet or the bathroom that is in the basement, and then get in there and either work through the clean out, or if we have to replace some pipe or whatever ends up being. Dan Waterman came out and gave us a rough estimate of it would be up to $2,000. He didn't think it would be more than that. I don't have a finished number yet. Also, while he was down there, I don't know if any of you have been down in the basement, but it is full of treasures that no longer need to be down there. It's broken stools, broken tables, pipe, old insulation, rocks. All of these things that just need to be cleaned out, and Dan is slow right now and said his crew would gladly come in and clean that out for $1,000. And so I got a roll-off delivered today, and the crew is working at getting that gone. So,
And most of the stuff had sewage all over it.
Yeah.
It backed way up to the west. It was gross.
so.
It was there was no other choice.
Sewage isn't working. I will gladly motion to approve spending up to $2,000 for plumbing repairs and $1,000 for scrap removal plus dumpster rental if somebody else does it than me.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. Number 14, motion to add and remove volunteers as presented.
Normally, in the past, I would put this motion on every agenda, and we would motion them as I knew that changes happened. For a long time, we didn't have any changes in any of the departments, and now since we have a pretty active ambulance crew and a pretty active fire department crew, once a year, I ask them for their their rosters. And unfortunately, there are a lot of changes. And per our agreement with our workers' comp, we do actually have to name all of these people physically that are going to be on the roster, any changes. So Abigail did type up this nice single word document, and basically that's what your motion is going to have to include, naming those people in each department, removing and then adding and the position that they're in. So I apologize, the motion is going to be quite long, but there was a lot of stuff that happened this last year, so.
So the ones crossed out are the ones that are no longer on
The back page it says who's removing.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can find this
department.
one. This one will
okay.
actually be what your motion is.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'll make a motion to add remove volunteers as presented. EMS, remove Carla Bailey, Jade Erickson, Alicia McMillan, Ashley Oberg, Caleb Kives. Fire Department EMS drivers, add Sam Bournes, Lucas Dustin John, Joe Saldana. Remove Kim Nabedy. Fire Department EMS, add Carmen Cass. Fire Department, add Andy German, Anna Howard. Remove Don Bros, Josh Irene, Miles Wick. Alcester Food Pantry, add Anna Mae Warnier. Remove Vicki Larson. Alcester Golf Course, remove Mark Dykstra, Wanda Halverson, Patricia Jurens, Bill Larson, Joni Schiff. Alcester HRC, remove Linda Talbert and Lance Johnson. Alcester Library Board, add Cindy Peoples, remove Dave Larson.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. Number 15, finance office updates.
If you haven't already, do please schedule your monthly spot checks for 2022 so we can get started on 2023. And then also schedule a time to do Abigail's performance review. It's a half-year performance review.
Is it under the water?
Yes, she's underwater.
No.
Sorry.
Under the water department.
Certainly feels.
Are you drowning?
So, we'll move on to 15D. We're done, right?
Yes, sir.
15D, motion to approve paying Real Sharp Mower Repair Golf Fund, $5,408.04. And that is,
Yes, I sent,
yep, we talked about it earlier.
yep.
I'll motion to approve paying Real Sharp Mower Repair Golf Fund $5,408.04.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to 15E, February warrants. I is to motion to approve the February warrants.
I'll make a motion to approve February warrants.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We'll move on to 15F. FI City Council meeting, April 3rd, 2023, 6 p.m. District meeting 3 meeting rescheduled, Community Center, April 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m. I believe that is it on reminders and updates.
Yes, sir.
So we'll move on to executive session if needed. So, do not need that. We move on to number 17, and motion to adjourn the council.
Make a motion to adjourn council.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion has passed. We have adjourned at 7:48 p.m.